Hey, what's going on, good people, man? Everybody get in here. Everybody kick back, grab your drinks, grab your whatever you need, man. I think we're going to have a good time tonight. Welcome to ScoutKast, a super mixed up show of ScoutKast. We got the Bryan Broaddus in the building. What's up, B? Absolutely great. Absolutely great. And, of course, we got Jeff and Voch. This is their show, by the way, y'all, but they're allowing me to quarterback, so I humbly thank you guys. Oh, well. Oh, man, I appreciate it. Listen, I couldn't do all of this without my guy. I call him Sosa. His name is Alex, though. But Sosa, he is phenomenal. He helps with this as well. But so I want to thank him as well. But I'm excited for this one, man. We have the Bryan Broaddus in the building. Jeff, Voch, they do the work for us, so we don't have to do all the crazy work. And we're going to bug him a little bit. It's a little hint right there for Bryan. We're going to bug him a little bit. We're going to see what we can do.
What's up? Why are you breaking it?
That's my bad.
What? See, you're doing too much. Less
Turn us on. Turn us on, Sky.
Less is more. See?
Are we on now?
You're on. It was a simple mute. I just muted you. That's all.
What a jerk.
Don't mute me no more.
God. You guys missed an incredible show. Bryan said hi, and Voch said hi, and I said hi, and then Sky actually unmuted us.
Technically, we kind of had a show before the show. We should have probably recorded that a little bit.
Yeah, we should have just
kind of wondering. I was kind of wondering where we were going there. I was cursing a lot. I'm sorry about that. I was kind of thinking, man, I hope we're not on the air right now. So
yeah, just glad you put your shirt back on.
We're all good now. Now, Bryan, we can try to get you to curse, but we'll see.
We'll work on that.
Oh, man. How's everybody doing, though, gentlemen, before we go in and get into things and allow more people to come into this chat because it's growing already?
Well, I'm excited to realize that you have an around the horn mute button. So now I'm going to have to be real careful the way I talk to you because I know that I could disappear at any moment. I'm great. I'm great.
I wouldn't do that to y'all.
Life is good. I can't complain. You know what I mean? I didn't know this wasn't around the horn thing. If we're keeping score, say so, because I'm very competitive, sir.
It is not.
Okay, cool. Don't worry about it.
I ain't gonna do that to you.
I need to go get my little chalkboard over here in the corner with some cute saying.
You'll be Woody?
Something like that. I'm like the
you
old
would be Woody.
guy
you
here.
would be Woody.
I'd be Woody. Absolutely.
Right.
But
what's up, Woody? Let's do that. Let's get you all to be the residential Woody. I'm with it.
You know, I feel like I'm in the witness protection program here. My dad, my 82-year-old dad, took my office over today, so I have some like a really cool backdrop. But right now, I feel like I'm talking to you guys from the county jail or something like that. So my apologies. Hopefully, I can bring some draft knowledge today.
Yes.
Hopefully, and you don't pay attention to the backdrop behind me or anything.
They ain't worried about that. We made it look pretty around you. All right, so they can focus on you.
That.
Focus on you.
Appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, let's kind of get into a little bit of that draft talk. And I wanted to start off with some of the ND medical checks that came out because that's kind of the hot topic on Twitter right now with some of these guys. At least for me, I saw some things that came back that had my eyebrows kind of raised a little bit. And it had to do with size issues, B, Voch, and Jeff. I'll start with the Heisman Trophy winner, Devonta Smith. I never really looked at him. I didn't know he was 166. I thought he played a little bit bigger than that. Phenomenal player. I know for Voch, that's your number one guy, and it's some others, that's their number one guy. So we'll start with you, Voch. Does that concern you, the 166?
Nah, man. What's the film say? Because if he was 166 doing all this on film, then because what's going to happen is he's going to go to the league and get this magical National Football League peanut butter that just makes everybody 10 pounds bigger, and he's going to be 176. So, I mean, but when you watch film, he's blocking people, he's catch pointing people, he's long arming people, he's physical in people. So you mean to tell me this little physical ass dude at 166, he gets to do it at 167 on the next level? Let's boogie, man. Why not?
What about you, B? How you feeling about that 166?
Yeah, this is Marvin Harrison to me, guys.
Hey.
I go all the way back to the Indianapolis Colts days and Peyton Manning throwing him the football. I remember him coming out of Syracuse, and he was a slight built guy, but he was an incredible route runner, caught everything in sight. He was tough, go across the middle, play at all levels. Yeah, I mean, when I watch this kid play, and trust me, I watched him against LSU for sure because that's my alma mater. but he is Marvin Harrison to me. And I had the utmost respect for Marvin Harrison as a player. And there's no doubt that in my mind, Smith will be the same type of player.
Jeff, what you over there doing?
I just loved watching Voch while Bryan was talking, right? No Rousseau on his whiteboard. No Rousseau. Yeah, and I don't care about the Devonta Smith weight thing either. I care about if it shows up. Like Asante Samuel Jr., I didn't care that he was 5'10" until Clemson threw jump balls back-to-back on him to open the game. And I was like, ooh, maybe I do need to move him to the slot. Yeah. But Devonta Smith, because I think about why would you care about how light a guy is? And some people will be like, oh, he's going to get hurt. That's made up. That's fake. Light people don't get hurt more than heavy people. And so then it's like, okay, can he get off press coverage? And the answer for him is better than anybody else in this draft class. Mm-hmm. He's better than Jamar Chase at it because he knows what he's doing. So until something hurts you, I don't care. So for Devonta Smith, I don't care.
And you can utilize him in a way where you can help him out, where you put him in a slot, get him off the press. You can motion him around. You can game plan to beat physical guys like Jalen Ramsey. And when I say beat, I mean get him off the press. So I'm not really worried about the 166 either. But another guy I was kind of like, whoa, this took me by surprise, was Zaven Collins. 270 pounds. Like this guy
got
to
big.
Me, he was already, I didn't know what to do with Zaven. I just like watching him play. But at 270, are we even talking about linebacker anymore, guys? And B, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think this is what's really interesting about Collins. And the more that I was talking to guys and gals around the league about him, I'm like, what do you see in him? What do you like about his game? And everybody started talking to me about something that like Mike Tomlin would do at Pittsburgh with a guy like this. Everybody was saying, well, maybe this guy's a 3-4 outside linebacker because he looks like a defensive end when you look at how he looks physically. But then you watch him move. I mean, he plays in coverage. There was a couple of games I watched. I want to say the SMU game was one he ended on an interception. There was another one he had where he finished the game on an interception. I mean, the guy knows how to play in coverage. He knows how to drop. They were bringing him on the rush on the outside. I mean, that is a large man. Those 3-4 teams, those odd front teams that have backers that occasionally drop but come and attack the pockets, those are the teams will fall in love with a guy. Again, Pittsburgh was a team that everybody that I was talking with around the league says that is a perfect type of Pittsburgh Steeler player for you.
And they just lost. Was it Bud Dupree?
Mm-hmm.
So
Bud Dupree,
he slide right in next to T.J. Watt and probably. Oh man, that'd be T.J. Watt and Zaven Collins. I'd like to see it. Jeff, how you feel about Zaven Collins ballooning?
I think that's it too, because I thought when I was watching him, I didn't like him as much as everybody else did. Everybody was talking about how amazing he was. And so I went into his film, and it was probably a little bit of cheating because I knew he was like 260 pounds. And so I'm watching him thinking 260, and I'm like, man, he doesn't really play 260. Like he's not, there's other linebackers in this class that are like stack and shed offensive linemen, toss him aside. And he doesn't really do that. But I'm like, okay, but he can rush the passer. He can run.
Right.
Like he's a factor in the run game because he can run and he's so big. But I didn't think he played like a 260-pound linebacker. And I was like, man, what would I do with him if he was a Cowboy? And my answer wasn't linebacker. I think I'd play him at right defensive end. So like I was confused of what to do with him. So I agree. I think he's probably a 3-man line outside linebacker, and that's where he lives.
Voch, is this you said Cowboys, is this the Leighton Vander Esch of this draft? A 6'4", 260-pound guy that can move?
Nah, see, what I looked at it as is like resume building, right? Because somebody may want him as a linebacker, but there may be 7 teams that only want him as an edge. There may be some people that want him as like a combo of both. So what I see it as is he's just kind of putting himself in different little categories. Hey, so whatever you need me to do, I'll be here to do it. So Zaven Collins being too savvy, as long as he can still run and still do linebacker things, and then he's big enough to do edgy things. Jeff think that he plays small, so put a 5-pound weight in his pocket and let him play a little bigger, or just try to be a little heavier in the trenches down there, whatever. I think he's probably gonna be like a Sam linebacker type dude, right? Just let him blitz. Cowboys been looking for that guy, or in the old administration, they was looking for that kind of dude that we could just blitz and be a Sam and not have to change from base formation. I think if you can take advantage of that, then you good to go.
Speaking for the Cowboys, Broaddus, how real is it when you have a coach who has a type of player? Because I look at Dan Quinn's drafting history, and he doesn't normally go for a 6'4", 250, 260 type of guy. You look at Duke Riley from your alma mater, LSU, speedy, faster type of guy in that 230 range. Deion Jones, fast guy in that 220 range. Even Devondre Campbell is only 230. What makes me kind of worry about the Cowboys and Zaven Collins is that draft history. Is that something real, or does that kind of change team to team?
Yeah, I think that, and I was talking with Tom Dimitroff about this. Tommy was the former general manager.
Name dropper. Okay, name dropper.
Rough. I'm friends with GMs.
Drop them all, B.
If you guys want me to stay on the show, I can keep doing that, though. I mean, we can go do something else.
Drop them all. Name drop them all.
I could go call John Snyder in Seattle right now.
Yeah, let's get him on.
Okay. Yeah, put him on.
Are we going to do a show together here? We're all good?
Sorry, sir. Okay. Apologies, sir. My fault. My fault.
That was Jeff.
Yep, that was me.
No. Yeah. All good. No. But I wanted to know. I did want to know, and Scott, I think it's a good question, because the thing was, to me, I wanted to know what type of player would Dan Quinn would we gravitate towards too, because I was really interested in what was going on at free safety. I was saying, the Cowboys for years have just not addressed that. Stephen Jones came on 105.3, addressed that. Hey, we've tried some ways. Well, I don't think you've tried hard enough. You took a defensive tackle when you had, 3 safeties on the board of all playing well. So I know that's for another time, another show maybe. But yeah, with Dan, Dan likes those run hit linebackers. He is on board with the guys that those sideline to sideline players, the guys that play downhill, the guys that when those linemen try to get second level on you, he's going to, they're going to be a step ahead of. So yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like that's the direction that we will see with the Cowboys. You got Van Der Esch, you got Smith. I wouldn't be surprised if they added a guy, and maybe there's a guy. Maybe there's a place for a guy like Bolton here for the Cowboys, where a guy that can run, a guy that makes every single tackle. Those types of players are a big part of what's going on in the league now. And I in talking to those guys, they felt like that's the direction that Quinn was probably going to take them when it came to these linebackers.
Real quick for Jeff and Voch, I know there's super chats going. If you guys want to interrupt me, don't interrupt Brian. But if you want to interrupt me, you can and get those off.
Wait, hold on. I want to make a rule in this son of a bitch right now. Okay. And the rule is that Brian is not special. Okay. Brian is not off limits. Brian is the dude that comes and makes crawfish in my driveway every damn weekend. Okay.
That ain't special. Making damn crawfish ain't special.
I mean, it is special, but he's just one of us.
You guys got me nervous. I'm trying to bring something to the program, and I talk about somebody I talk to, and it's like,
see, Jeff,
and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I can't mention anybody I talk to because
that is not true.
I'm just trying to be a normal guy.
See, Jeff,
I'm trying to be a normal guy.
I just wanted to talk crap to Brian because that's our natural element.
I know.
It's our natural element.
We talk a lot of crap. No, we talk a lot of crap to each other. So yeah, feel free. If you want to talk crap, talk crap.
By the way, if you guys don't know, Jeff and Brian on 105.3 The Fan, they've been at this for years. So this is not new to them. So don't scare away. It's all good fun.
Well, let me tell you this. The first couple of years, he was great to work with. The last 5 years, he's been the biggest pain in the ass to deal with. Seriously, yeah. I've never melted. It used to be like I could kind of work angles with him. Now it's like he won't listen. He just kind of does what he wants to do. So Brian, he's right. He treats me like crap. So yeah, it's all good.
That's called direct he is with it. Yeah, he's a brat. Well, that's basically what he is.
It's called learning. For 2 years, I was scared that he wouldn't let me keep watching film and sneak me into Valley Ranch anymore. And then you get to about year 3, and when Brian's like, hey, this receiver, and you disagree, I'm just like, nah. But the first 2, you're like, oh, yeah, I could see that. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for teaching me. And then eventually you're just like, I'm done learning. It's time for me to tell you what's going on.
Let me tell you what Jeff's done real quick. I'm sorry, I mean to hijack the show here. Let me tell you what Jeff did. The coaches used to have dinner out there and outside of my office there at Valley Ranch. Jeff just would get up and go serve himself a plate. He'd go up there and Monty Kiffin, he didn't care who was in line. Jeff go get him a plate of food and come back and start watching tape. So Jeff could feel real comfortable with you if you let him. He'll feel real comfortable. Make himself right at home.
I'm eating with Monty Kiffin, Jeff.
Monty didn't know. Monty just be like,
Monty probably was asleep.
Monty Kiffin.
Yeah.
He did.
Monty
Monty slept on my shoulder one time after a game.
I know it. I used to make fun of Monty Kiffin falling asleep. I never knew he did, but I knew it.
Remember that game? We played a game in Kansas City. It was a tough game. I mean, tough game. Got beat. And Monty on the bus. Monty sat next to me on the bus, and I was typing after the game, and Monty fell asleep on my shoulder. He was just like, and I was typing about the defense and all that. Monty was asleep on my shoulder. He just kind of passed out over there.
I 100% believe he fell asleep up there in that booth. I 100% believe it. No, seriously. Before I let go of the indie medicals, there was one more guy, my guy Jay Tuck. We've been talking about a lot online on the Twitter machine, as Voch will call it. Tutu Atwell, really explosive player. I have no idea where you guys have him at, around 2 to 6 or 7, what have you. But 149 pounds. Now, y'all talked about Devonta and not worrying about his size. But, y'all, come on, man. He weighed less than me, and that worries the hell out of me. And I looked up the history. Tutu at 149, anything under 155, he'd be the lightest player ever in the history of the NFL. Does that concern you for a speedster like him? And we'll go backwards. Well, I'll start with Voch.
I mean, he's just a different kind of dude. Like, him and Devonta aren't the same kind of guy. So, he's going to have a more limited role. He's not going to be anybody's main guy. He's going to be a complimentary slot guy, maybe kick return, punt return kind of dude. If, you know what I mean? So I don't want to be a hypocrite and come out and say, oh, well, I feel good about the 160 dude. I should feel bad about the 170 dude. I'm the 140, 150 guy. But if he's smaller than you, Scott, hey. But the film... film wise, whatever. Hey, man, he looks like a 4th, 5th round kind of guy to me. And then when the league does their analytic things and they say he's too small, he might not get drafted. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that ain't me personally saying that, but that's just what the league does. You know what I mean? So I don't know, 7th round possibly.
Where you got him at, Jeff?
I think I have him in the 5th. I tell you what, when I watched Tutu on tape, I was surprised because I thought I knew he was going to be a tiny guy. And I thought when I was going to watch a tiny guy that on tape, he was going to run like a 4.2 or a 4.3 and just be this blur. And I thought even as a tiny guy, he plays like a bigger guy, because you picture like a tiny guy, like I got to hit him right here and I got to hit him right here, but he's making catches extended. And I was like, oh, he actually plays like a smooth, full size receiver, but he's really small. Tiny. So like, I didn't think he was as electric as his athletic numbers say he is. So to me, he's just a little slot receiver.
Really little.
But on day 3, I would take a shot. I would take a shot on him on day 3. But plus, I'm here for the tiny man. I'm here for the tiny man.
Yeah. I have him in the 4th round, and I remember watching Florida State tape on him. And I mean, he gets deep in a hurry. And I think that's where, to me, he's going to have to be one of those guys that you got to get the ball to him quick. You got to get it to him on the move. I mean, at Louisville, they did a lot of stuff where they were dragging him underneath. They were trying to create opportunities, for him. But I mean, he's one of those guys that doesn't appear like he's running fast. Sure. And then the next thing you know, he's by his guy. And so, I mean, I did see a guy that had some toughness to make the catches over the middle in traffic and stuff like that. The guy's a punt returner. Maybe somebody will draft him, and that's what they'll make him at. He'll be one of these guys that initially comes in as a special teams weapon, and then they'll incorporate him in more with the offense. But me personally, I have him in the 4th round. And, the 149 would scare me a little bit. But, man, the tape, I don't think is terrible on this kid.
No, I had to have a question for you about that. Who is one of the smallest players that you scouted that overcame their size in the NFL, B? Yeah, I'm digging deep.
Well, no, it is digging deep because
Dante Hall,
man,
that's about 90.
Dante Hall was, and Dante Hall I think is a really, really good example of that, because to me, and I remember him at Texas A&M, but it's similar like with Atwell is that you saw a guy, the ability to catch and then to go, and then all of a sudden there's separation, there's, he's by people and stuff like that. I mean, it's tough. I mean, that 149 that's scary. There's no question about that. But I did see the guy, catch the ball across the middle. I did see him take some hits. But man, I was just in my mind. I was just, that's one of those questions I know I'm going to get asked again. So I probably need to go back to my 1992 and try and remember all those guys, because it's really, because I came from a program in Green Bay where if you were this size, you better walk on water. And I don't know if Tutu Atwell walks on water. I mean, he's a good player, but my old boss, Ron Wolf, who's a Hall of Fame general manager, used to say, if you're that short, that small, you better walk on water.
You've got to be
there's been some guys that have done that before.
I feel like when you're that tiny, you got to be
Tavon Austin. Yeah. I mean, that thing, you could watch Tavon Austin in that, that game at West Virginia when they played Texas and Austin, and you would have taken him in the first round off that one tape.
Was it the game he had like 400 yards or something?
Oh, yeah, it was incredible what they were doing with him. So, yeah, I just think that you have to be mindful about it. And some people, they won't have him on the board. But like I said, I think that teams will use him as a returner first and then incorporate him in some other things.
All right. We were talking about Zaven Collins earlier and mentioned moving on to like a pass rusher possibly if he's with the Cowboys. So I wanted to talk about the pass rushers in this class because I don't know that there is a consensus game record, I'd use quotes, like there was last year and the previous years in the top 10. I like Jalen Phillips a lot, but I don't know that he's a top 10 to 12 guy. In the sense of, I know Voch, he's in your top 15, but I mean literally being picked in the top 10 to 12. I don't know. And we'll get to you. I'll let you get on it. So my question is, who are some of the day two guys? Because we've seen Phillips, Russo, Ojulari, Kwity Paye. We've seen all those names in day one. But who are some of the day two guys that are on your boards or on your minds that could be an impact player in this draft at defensive end or outside linebacker / outside linebacker? And Voch, go right ahead.
Sky, let me tell you something, man. First of all, I don't hate Greg Russo as a human. I hope he gets a lot of money and buys his mama a house, and I hope he does well. But when you ask somebody what's good about Russo, they talk about what could be. And you take those things that could be, you copy and paste them on Peyton Turner, and that dude is that right now. And I hate how they not talking about my this man, Peyton Turner from Houston. So he got this long John Jones ass wingspan, big as hell, can play inside and outside. Not just I'm 260 and I happen to play inside. You put him in B gap and he's wrecking people. Watch the BYU game. Watch him just pick on some of them kids in there. Talk about length. He got explosion. He got twitching. His Greg Rousseau's about 6'7", and he long and he can't turn really well. Peyton Turner can turn his ass off. So if I'm at 44. And Peyton Turner's on the board, it's going to have to be a bunch of studs on the board for me to not look at Peyton Turner, because I just think that highly of my dude, man. I think just basically how draft works, because it's about 70 round 2 graded guys or whatever. So some guys are just going to fall down naturally. You may see a guy like Basham that's going to end up in that range, but I like Peyton Turner more than Carlos Basham. I'm not going to just keep saying names and take names from Bryan and Jeff, but Turner's my day 2 guy, man. They should definitely talk about that dude a lot more. And not Russo.
What about you, B?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, though. That's a good name, Peyton Turner, because I was watching him play. I like the offensive tackle at BYU, Christensen, pretty well. And I love the matchup. Anytime that you could get a defensive end like that of the quality of Turner. And what's interesting about him is in the scouting world, we call him high cut, because he's got kind of a short upper body and really, really long legs, but super active guy in that way. I do like the name a lot. I'll give you a name of a kid I like. I like this kid, Joe Tryon from the University of Washington. He opted out.
Brian, we about to fight. Brian, we about to fight. But go ahead. Tell us what you like about Tryon. Go ahead.
No, I tell you what, though, the thing with Tryon to me is I've seen him play with his hand on the ground on both sides. And what I think is, this guy to me is a slippery pass rusher. And the name or the person when I was watching him, when it came to my mind, he reminded me of Preston Smith. When Preston Smith was with Washington and then went with Green Bay, I saw this kind of a slippery player, and I saw a guy with some pass rush moves. There's a lot of these guys that have that ability just to run up the field and try and make things happen. But Joe Tryon's a guy that he will work hard with pass rush moves. He's one of those guys who always say, oh, the tools in the tool belt and stuff like that, slap, hands, grab, rip. He's got that idea of how to break down a blocker. And I think that, to me, he was another guy that didn't get knocked off his feet. He took on double team blocks pretty well. So I would say that, guys like Turner, guys like Trine, and, you mentioned Basham. I think those are all names that to me, I have kind of in that group together that on day two that would make somebody some pretty good defensive ends.
Jeff, earlier you talked about your what'd you call it, a pizza party guy, right? Mm-hmm. Who's your pizza party guy for edge rushers in day two?
Oh, I don't have one. Pizza party is very specific. Okay. Pizza party can only be one man. Pizza party man is our Darius Washington. Yeah, we can't. There is no other pizza party man. But I think the third name that both of them mentioned is the other guy at 44, because who knows how these edge rushers go? Is it Ojulari and Phillips and Oweh that are gone and Kwity Paye? And so then if Boogie Basham is a dude that is available, I like Boogie Basham a lot because I think he played at like 280 and he didn't play like he was 280. Like the power didn't always show up. He was like a nifty pinball rusher, but he made a ton of plays in the backfield. He plays hard as hell, a lot like Joseph Osai, who's another name worth bringing up. Mm-hmm. And I think if you can unlock the power part of his game that's there and give him a plan more often and have him know what he's doing with his hands more often, I think Boogie Basham might be a stud. So I think those are the three names: Basham, Turner, Tryon.
Ronnie Perkins.
And for me, it's in that order.
Yeah, no one mentioned Perkins.
Ronnie Perkins is
but Perkins I talked to a bunch of people that think Perkins is an outside linebacker.
Okay.
A lot of teams are grading him as an outside linebacker. He's a good pass rusher. Can I go back on a guy that could play in? Oweh from Penn State is. I'm going to allow my colleagues here to explain to me what they see in Oweh, because I don't know. And this is one of those guys, as a scout, you're terrified because the numbers say that he should be this, and the film says he should be this. And I don't know. And somebody's going to probably take him in the first round. Oh, yeah. I don't think it would be, if I was sitting in that chair in one of the 32, I don't think it would be me. So I will let anybody else tell me what they see in Oweh from Penn State.
Anybody see this, Voch, Jeff?
I'll do that, but just write this down. Voch fight Bryan on Joe Tryon. Write that down. I'll be back though.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. Yeah,
we got you.
Think about Oweh though. I just see a dude that doesn't really know how to play football yet, but he's more athletic than everybody. So I mean, I was like, hey man, just try this dude at line. If he runs that fast and he doesn't know like pass rush things, like let him play linebacker or like safety or something. He runs down the middle of people, doesn't really have much nuance to his game. I just kind of see him get lost. I don't see a powerful player in that way. I mean, you can tell that he has like weight room strength, kind of sorta, but like functional strength, I'm just not seeing a very practical football player. But he has the genetics, I guess. Somebody was like, Voch, would you make him lose 10 pounds and just put him at Mike? Hell no. If you want to go let his big ass be a Mike right now at that size or just whatever. But as a D end, I like my guys to have a little more nuance. I like the actual floor to be a little higher. And what I see in him today, I just don't see a functioning D end from Oweh right now.
I think it's the 4.3 in the length, right?
That's what it is. What it is it's a combination of the body that he has, the 3-cone time, the 40-yard dash time, because he is maybe literally the most athletic defensive end prospect of all time. That's what it is. And the only problem is how early do you take that? Because I think Bryan can speak to this. My experience with NFL coaches is it's a lot of ego. And so what you have is you have dudes that are like, oh, I get that ball of clay. Watch what I can turn him into. And for me, I'm like, yeah, if you want to tell me that when we're picking in the 40s or 50s, I'll let you try it. But I think somebody's going to try that in the teens or the 20s. And to me, it's too early because he's not a great football player.
Bryan, is that normal?
When I'm cooking, when I'm cooking crawfish at the lake for you guys, when I'm not doing this anymore, you guys remind me that I didn't like that kid, but I you know what? I'll wear that one because all my years I get burned by the guys that I remember Mike Mamula way back in the day, and Mike Mamula, to this day I talked to him. It's not his fault the Philadelphia Eagles took him at 7 overall. He was a workout guy, just wasn't good enough, and so to me, this kid could be great. there's a side of me that believes that you're always going to be chasing him trying to learn how to play this game. And I think someone's going to make a mistake highly doing that. I really, really do.
Is it a common thing, Bryan, from general managers to fall in love with the traits, or not even the traits, just the measurables, the 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", 4'4", 4'5", and like, hey man, I like Jeff said, I could turn him into something. To take them in the first round though, that's normal.
Yeah, I for 2 weeks I worked for a gentleman that did that. His name was Al Davis. I'm dropping another name on you right there. And so Mr. Davis it was all about height, weight, speed, and you could watch all the tape you want, I mean, he would hate the TCU safety Washington. He would hate him because he's short and he doesn't run fast. That's what the numbers would tell him. And there's still guys to this day and some gals that sit in those rooms that they look at those numbers and those traits and they say, okay, he runs this and how does he compare? But for every one of those, you're going to make a mistake. And I keep talking about the Bolton kid from Missouri. Mm-hmm. I put on the tape, he makes every single tackle, but he's short and he doesn't run a good time speed, but he makes every single tackle. Those are the arguments that you have in war rooms every day. I'll give you another example too. I'll drop another name on you.
Drop him.
We were in a draft where Anquan Bolden was involved, right? Anquan Bolden coming out of Florida State. Couldn't run out of sight. Mm-hmm. Yeah. John Gruden said, I don't care where you MFers put him. Every one of you are wrong. Okay. You could all talk about him not running and not doing this and not doing that. Wow. You watch his tape, he will go make plays. He'll go get that football. And he was right. Isaac Bruce, another one. Guys like that, all of a sudden if you don't respect the tape, but you respect the numbers, and that could get you in a lot of trouble.
Voch, what is it about Tryon you're kind of off on?
So I like the idea of Tryon, right? When I'm watching the first 3 steps of him, you fall in love with him, right? The get off, he can bend. Oh, his hands, he's getting his hands involved. Oh, he has a plan, right? But it's like when he gets to his 4th step, it all just kind of stops, right? I think in 2019 he ended with like 8 sacks or something. He would have 27 if he would just finish. And I'm just big on finish. So this could just be a personal bias. Everybody has certain things that they like about guys. I just like finish or whatever. And Joe just doesn't finish enough. I just see him get caught sometimes. And I'm like, man, if you did one thing different, if you just turned this millisecond quicker, you would finish and then you would get your sack. He's one of those dudes. Like when you look at the opt-out guys or the guys that just didn't have film this year, there are guys that you know who they are and they didn't have to play another down of football. You know exactly who they are. Tryon could have used another year of football just to clean that stuff up a little bit. And just that small little thing would put other guys ahead of him. Here's another guy for you, right? Vanderbilt kid, Dayo Odeyingbo. Hope I'm saying his name right. That dude, technical as hell. And I'm like, man, bro, if your team was a little better, you would be a star. If that dude's in Alabama, that dude would be a star, man. I see some of these guys, and I'm just liking the finished product of those dudes. I just wish Tryon had that little bit. But the first 3 steps of them, you fall in love with them. That's all I got.
Is that fair, B and Jeff?
No, I mean, and I understand. Yeah, I understand where you're going there. To me, give me the guy that, and you talk about putting yourself in position to finish, and you're not wrong about that. But I've seen so many of these kids come into the league and they don't have pass rush moves. They don't have an escape plan. They don't know how to break down blockers. That's the thing that if he didn't understand that, he would never even get to the point where he could finish. Right. But I'm taking a chance on a guy that I think the effort, the motor, we talk about that, the technique I think is really, really good. The guy doesn't quit on plays. I think the measurable numbers are going to be fine. I think he's strong enough to take on tackles, but he's not going to run down the middle. He's going to try and get the edge. He's going to try and work underneath. Hopefully he can finish. I do understand what you're talking about. You mentioned the Vanderbilt kid too. Mm-hmm. And now there's a guy that's, again, you're talking about 6'5". I think the numbers I had was 6'5", 279 when I was doing the work. there's a guy that I watched him play, and he plays on a team that really, really struggles. And sometimes you can watch kids that if they're on a really bad team, you will see them keep playing. You'll see them. Ron Leary was that way. When Ron Leary was playing at Memphis, I mean, they were getting their ass kicked every week. But he kept playing. He kept playing. He kept playing. He kept playing. And, those are the kinds of kids you respect. I think with this Vanderbilt kid, though, as good as he looked and as productive as he was, I was watching the Ole Miss game, and they made him quit. And that to me, like, you could see a certain level of frustration with some of these players. And maybe that's what I like so much about Tryon. I didn't see any level of frustration. Some other guys you might see that with. And that's fair. I think that's why in my mind, I kind of have him where I have him.
Hey, before we move on,
a great point now that you mentioned it, though, because one of the favorite things about Rashawn Slater is they don't always tell you this, but Northwestern was getting smoked that game, but he's just still whooping Chase Young every single quarter. So that's fair, totally fair. Go ahead, Scott.
No, I was just gonna say, man, before we move on, I just want to give a shout out to the chat. We almost 1,000 deep up in here, and they're dropping the donations. I see them, guys, but I'm trying to let the guys drop this knowledge for y'all. But if y'all do have any super chats y'all want to run through, like I said, absolutely go ahead and ask the questions. We're gonna have a special segment in a little bit here. It's going to be called Bug Bryan. Okay, so if you want to get your Bug Bryan question in, it's hashtag Bug Bryan, or if you donate, we'll get it as well, and we'll see if we can poke the bear a little bit over there with some of your draft questions, man.
Oh boy.
And you muted yourself there, Jeff.
Oh, yep, sure did. And I made the mistake of not I was going to try to set Sky up, pretend like he screwed something up. I made the mistake of not being in my own chat early on in the show. So the supers that I missed, just tell me. Just tell me, and I love you, and I'll fix it. But Rene de los Santos, which teams overdraft or can't draft? That's a great question. The Bengals are Brian's team. They take all the trouble guys, and he loves them, so he loves with it. The Ravens draft. Ozzie Newsome and them, they draft. That's favorite. A team that draft. Seattle can't draft. New England can't draft, but they get so many picks that it doesn't matter.
Vegas.
Y'all can pitch in. Yeah, Vegas. Y'all can pitch in on that too. Dallas hit me twice. He wanted to know, why do the best guards other than Quentin Nelson play on the right side? He said, I've asked Jeff, but Bryan and Coach might help. And I have no idea. Why certain guys play right or left.
It's the question, why is Quentin Nelson so good on the right side?
Quentin plays left, right? I think he's saying, why do almost every other good right guard plays right guard?
Most teams are right-handed.
That's where they run.
Yeah, it's where they run. If you have a quarterback that's a right-handed quarterback, then, most teams play with that because the quarterback, that's the side of the field he can see when he turns. So but you also, when you run, you put your power players on. Like when you put like Lyle Collins and Zach Martin on that one side, that's a pain in the ass to deal with on the defensive side. And then, and that's why you could get away with Tyron Smith and those guys on the backside, because you want guys that could scoop it or reach it and then let those guys push the front side. And it's usually the better players. Most teams are right-handed. So that's why those guys play over there.
All right. I hear your dog in the background, Jeff.
That's why I muted it the first time, because he was going nuts. So I muted it, and now he's not going as nuts. So whatever.
How's CD doing today?
CD's great, jumping on everything, breaking things, licking my face. Just everything's perfect.
Jeff has a dog that would have been drafted in the top 3 for athletic ability.
I seen him just tear Jeff's whole studio apart one day. Hilarious.
I've seen him jump like 8 feet in the air to get somewhere. I mean, literally come out of. I mean, you talk about a vertical. This dog's got a vertical.
Let's do Jeff. See, this is how great Bryan is. He just did a breakdown player profile on Jeff's dog. I mean, like, that's crazy. Let's do Jeff.
Am I lying? Yeah. I'm not lying. This dog
his IQ is where he's going to struggle.
Wonderlic, not so good.
He's an 11 on the Wonderlic. Yeah, he went to LSU, by the way.
Yeah,
this dog went to LSU.
Jeff's quickness dog, and speed. Yeah,
Jeff's dog versus Voch Lombardi's cat. Let's do it.
Cat's cool. Nah, don't worry about it. Nah, that ain't fair, Scott. That ain't fair.
It is fair. It is fair because the other thing about CD is he is a 65 or 70 pound German Shepherd mix, and he's the biggest coward of all time. If that cat makes a sound or moves a paw,
he's gonna his ass. Then
he's gonna run. He's gonna run.
I said he was an athlete, man. I didn't say anything else.
Did say
he had to be a running back. He had to be a running back. There's no thinking, just avoid things and run like hell.
Oh, man. Hey, shout out to some of the people in the chat. They said, you guys are one of my favorite Dallas Cowboys commenters, man. Appreciate that. Really, really
Thank
do.
you. Appreciate you guys.
Speaking of running backs, defensive tackles are supposed to be there to help stop running backs, right? And I heard Jeff earlier today say, this is the worst defensive tackle draft I've seen. Well, Jeff, you're not alone. There was some anonymous scouts that kind of said the same thing, or coaches, somebody, anonymous. I never know who it really is, that said the same thing. So I had a few questions here. First, your overall thoughts on this defensive tackle class. And is this class overall bad, or is the one tech position kind of actually pretty good? Because I kind of feel like it is. We'll start with you, Jeff.
I think it's just like a lot of other positions. It's bad at the top is where it's bad. Most years you have a guy that is worth a top 15 pick. Like Christian Barmore is going to get pushed into the first round, but that's not where I have him graded. Marvin Wilson is my second defensive tackle, and the NFL is going to pick him in like the fourth is what it sounds like, because they're dumb. And then like the guys who have the potential to be stars, or the guys that are the pass rusher types, I just don't think there's any finished products. Like Onwuzurike at Washington. He's got the traits of a 3 technique, but he also plays straight up and just gets blocked a lot. And it's like, okay, so we're going to draft the traits here. How high does that go? Vanderbilt, man, I'll play him at the 3 technique. The guy that Bryan and Voch were talking about earlier, I'll play him at the 3. He's coming off an Achilles. Milton Williams, incredible athlete, but you're talking about low level of competition. So like, I think there are some solid nose tackle guys. Like I like Alim McNeil. I like Marlon Tuipulotu. I like Tommy Togiai. But there, I think when you're talking about nose tackles, generally speaking, you're talking about the 3rd round and later. So I don't think there's a lot of game changers. And that's why I love that Voch is sticking to his guns even harder than I am with Marvin Wilson, because that's the dude that we have 2 years of evidence that he's potentially a dominant defensive tackle.
Let me set you up here, Voch. Let me set you up, because I'm going to pull up Voch Lombardi's top 50 big board here.
That's the best, man.
He's got Marvin Wilson top 20, Levi Onwuzurike. Am I saying it right?
I think it's Onwuzurike, I believe.
Okay, and Alim McNeil. So Voch has some talented DTs up here, and a lot of people are getting on him about Marvin Wilson, but I kind of actually like what he's been saying on Twitter about it. But I'll let you defend yourself here on the Marvin Wilson thing.
I feel like when we watch film on these players, we have to take a look at the overall product. If you look at Dak Prescott as only a senior football player, only his senior film, you'll go, oh, this dude's okay. If you do a little research, this dude took this terrible Mississippi State team and made them the best damn team in the whole nation. So we have to account for the old film. There's plenty of examples on my board of going back to the old film and gathering further information. Voch says this: I saw Derrick Brown, right, last year from Auburn, right, one tech kid. I saw him go top 10. So if you like a D tackle enough, those dudes can go high enough. I look at Marvin Wilson's 2018 and 19 film. That dude he's elite. That dude is incredible. There's nothing you can tell me about 2018-19 Marvin Wilson. I seen that dude put hands on Mekhi Becton, and Mekhi Becton's big ass hit the ground. Nobody does that.
That's a big boy.
Nobody does that. So what you're seeing now from the peanut gallery is what I call them, from these cats that just toss their opinions around on the social media machines. What I see from them is, oh, well, but Voch, Marvin Wilson had a trash 2020 season. Voch, Marvin Wilson looks slow. Marvin Wilson's terrible. Marvin Wilson's 2020 ain't his 18 and 19 film, but Marvin Wilson's also not a 5 tech. Marvin Wilson probably had this meniscus thing that he was getting checked out when he was in Indy. Marvin Wilson had a coaching change. Marvin Wilson's whole team is terrible down there in Florida State. If Marvin Wilson would have went to Ohio State, this would have been a whole different conversation. So what I'm saying is, how can we ignore this elite tape, but then the 1 year where all the changes happen, we're just gonna take that one season and make that season what the finished report is gonna be? I call hogwash on that. I call BS on that. Broaddus is here bullshit on that. We're gonna cuss on this show. I call that on that. Why don't we take the overall product into account. And if we look at the overall product and we just gonna do averages, I'm terrible at math. If this dude is elite, don't tell me what he can't do. Tell me what he can do. I don't want to talk myself out of a good player. If Marvin is elite in 2018, 2019, then all this change happened. If I'm taking a player, if I'm a GM, if I'm a scout, I'm a coach, I'm gonna go, okay, what happened where you was this dude? Mm-hmm. What happened where you was 2018, 19 guy? Oh, you need some help at 3 tech? Sure, we'll get you that. Oh, you need this? Cool. So I can get elite Marvin Wilson. I'm not gonna put you in 2020 situation, Marvin Wilson, to make you that bad guy. Marvin Wilson is the 19th overall player on my board. He's the best D tackle in this draft, and I'm not changing my mind.
That's a clue bomb worthy right there, man. Bryan, how you feel about
that? That was well said. That was very well said. The thing I like about Marvin Wilson, and to me, you see this guy play on the opponent's side of the line of scrimmage. I mean, he will bully blockers throughout a game. If I was talking about walking guys back, his effort is outstanding. He's got power. You see him chasing the ball all over the field. He wears that unusual number 21 out there, so it's kind of fun to watch him. But, yeah, I mean, here's a big man that the coaches, they use him in the twist game. You know, how many big, heavy guys do you see that they use in the twist game, not as the post, but as the looper? And he's getting home on the rush and stuff like that. I think that this is a guy, man, he gives you everything he's got for every snap that he's in the game. I love the power. I love the size. I love the desire to get to the football. And we talked about finish. This guy finishes. And then the thing I really do love about him is, like I said earlier, he plays on the opponent's side of the line of scrimmage. The grass does not die under his feet. He is always on the move, always trying to make a play. Really good football player.
I remember one of the first things when we talked about, I think on the show with Jeff, you mentioned his violent hands. Right. And I think he came down to, what was it, Senior Bowl? He didn't play, right? I think got hurt. But in practice, there was some reps where this guy, it looked like he was angry at the offensive lineman, the way he was smacking the hands around and the way he was moving his hands. I know Voch loves defensive linemen, offensive linemen. Was that something you noticed, Voch, when you watched his tape, was his violent hands?
Not only did I notice the violent hands, just going back to Senior Bowl real fast, but I saw him looking like he's trying to play quicker than what he should be, right? Like he had lighter feet on film, but then I watched Senior Bowl. I say, oh, Marvin Wilson is trying to add some pass rush moves to his repertoire, right? Because what you notice about Marvin when you're watching film, he may not be super, I'm fast athlete, one tech dude, but I'm constantly moving. So I may get a sack because I just don't stop my feet. I just don't quit. So what you get from that is I'm looking at him like, oh, he's working on this pass rush thing. And Senior Bowl is the best metric for damn scouting, in my opinion. I mean, it's film, and then there's Senior Bowl. This combine stuff is cool, pro day is cool, but put that dude against another guy. Put that dude against 360 pounds of Deontay Brown and see what happens to him. Put him against some of these dudes and just see what happens. And he was winning these reps at the Senior Bowl, man. I don't understand how we can look at that guy. Somebody said he was trash in a 4th round pick. I blocked that person today. I don't block people on block that dude today because that's just nonsense and it's lying. I don't know, man. I just think highly of Marvin, and I mean, I don't have a college football team. Like I ain't no Florida State fan. I'm not biased. I just look at this dude and I just think about him on my team that needs one tech help, my team that got 2-3 techs that love the burst up field, that would love some one tech help, that need help in the run defense. Give me Marvin all day, every day.
Before I move on to the one tech, Jeff, and I'll let you guys elaborate too. Marvin lost some weight, but he stayed strong. So when I see him in 2018, 2019, he seemed bigger. He seemed like a one tech. But then when I hear he's like a little over 300, that's not the big traditional one tech. But is the game moving along now where you could put a 305-pound guy over there and live with that?
Well, I think he's in between. Like, I think I think when you watch him play, is he powerful enough to hold the point and be what you would consider a nose? I think so. But I actually think I would rather have him as a guy that's singled up more often and line him up over a guard and just watch him whip his ass. Sure. Because it wouldn't be your same, like, I'm just going to try to swat and swim you. It's more I can go through you so I can kind of play the run on the way to the pass. To me, he's an in-between guy where it's like, oh, is he a 1? Is he a 3? And I'm like, well, if you need a D tackle, he can play it. That's what I think he is.
That makes sense. That's the type of guy I feel like with Aleem McNeil. I initially look at him as a one tech, But then I look at he's athletic. He played, was it baseball or something? He played running back, and I'm like, man, he kind of move a little bit. I could slide him inside that 3 and have him one gap and shoot and penetrate. I like Aleem McNeil, but I do put him in that one tech category because I personally, as a Cowboy fan, I want a one tech. So I want to ask you guys, what is your thoughts on that position, that 0 or that one tech, that nose tackle in this draft? Because I actually like it. I think it's pretty solid. Where Jeff said 3 to like that 5 range of round range is pretty good. Bryan, how you feel about the one techs or the nose tackles in this draft?
No, absolutely. I think that's where it might not be at the top of the board. Yes, Alabama did give us a defensive tackle, but they just didn't give us a defensive tackle. In my opinion, it has a first-round grade with Barmore. I mean, I just don't see
I got you, Voch.
Myself. So to me, the thing with McNeil, and I have McNeil over Wilson on my board. But this guy's like a true nose. I mean, he is breathing the same air as the center. He's that close to this guy's face. And so, yeah, I mean, he looks bigger. I was working with the weight of 318 pounds, his listed weight, but he looks bigger than that. And he's got the first step quickness. I would call him nifty for his size. He's not, we talk about the movement and stuff like that. He plays on the move. I mean, he's good with his hands. This is a big man that was, I mean, he is grabbing guys and pulling them aside and then getting down the line. I mean, when you watch Shelvin, say from LSU, who's a 355-pound guy, he doesn't move like that. He doesn't move like that. This guy is big and he moves like that. And so when he finds the ball, he's going to finish. I mean, he could stack things up. I mean, he makes it hard for guys to double team him and get him out of there. But I mean, his ability to make plays at the point of attack when he sees the ball and get over and get the ball, that's why I like him so much. I do hope that the Cowboys do draft a one technique. They'll tell you that they love, Tristan Hill and they love Neville Gallimore and all that. And maybe they need to get another 3. But man, this defense would be a hell of a lot better if they had a real one technique.
I mean, that's not even debatable. We haven't really prioritized that position in forever. But to elaborate on Aleem McNeil, I think it was something like 85% of the snaps he lined up over the center. That is big boy ball. I mean, you gotta be a beast and just hungry to want to line up right at the center, almost 100% of the damn time. I saw
it wasn't bad for him. It was bad for the centers.
Yeah. No. I saw Voch get a little worked up when Barmore's name came up. I don't know how you feel about him, Bryan, but Voch, let the world know if they don't know how you feel about Barmore. And I'm not saying you hate Barmore, right?
Sure.
It's just that Barmore was looked at coming into this thing as consensus number 1 defensive tackle, especially coming off of the national championship game where he played phenomenally. But then when you really deep dive like these guys do, it's like, okay, there's certain things that I don't really like about Barmore that doesn't vault him up there as DT1 or into the first round. And what are some of those things, Voch?
The very first game I watched was like the Auburn game. And the first play of the game, he wasn't out there. I'm like, okay, well, let me go to the second, third play. And I'm thinking, oh, well, maybe he has an equipment issue. Maybe he lost his shoe. He's on the sideline. He lost his shoe. And I ain't see him to the second half. So I'm like, was he hurt? So I go look for another game. And I'm like, oh, he just don't start. And I keep watching. Okay, oh, he's in on third down. So I fast forwarded too far. Let me go back a little bit. And if Nick Saban don't want you playing rundowns, that says something to me. So how high can you draft a player that only plays 25 snaps a game, 30 snaps a game, something like that? If I'm the Cowboys in particular, I'm looking for run help. I don't think I'm getting it from Barmore. I'm not trying to listen to these PFF casts and say, well, but Voch, Christian Barmore was rated the highest ranked D tackle run grade. It's bullshit. It's hogwash. I don't see that on film. Now, what he is he's in this incredible formula to where he's not great versus the run, but he's an incredible pass rusher. As a one tech, I think he should be playing 3 tech. He probably fits B gap a little more. He's an incredible pass rushing one tech, and he just happens to be in this situation where his offense scores a lot of points. So if Alabama get them points on the board and you got to score points, then they get the pass rush, then Barmore gets to do his thing. That's not going to always be the case in the league. So where do you take that guy? So he's not on my top 50 board, and he's definitely not a first round or a second round guy to me. I would rather take one of these other guys that can do both. Marvin can do both. Aleem McNeil he's probably not going to give you the best pass rush, but he has upside as a pass rusher because he can move. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what you do with Barmore. Go ahead.
I see what you're talking about with Barmore. I mean, I think there's a lot of things. I think, though, if you wanted to sell Barmore to people, and you talked about the Auburn game, I think if you got to the point where you got into the playoffs and then the championship game and stuff like that, that's where the PFFs and all those people are like, oh, well, here's what this guy can do. Because you're right. All those other games that you watch him play, it's not like watching the normal Alabama defensive tackle that's disruptive every single time, where he's at his absolute best. And again, at times it's good pass rush. And then other times it's like, where'd he go? Yeah. But I think a lot of people are looking at that late film and saying, okay, this is the type of guy that you could get. But I fully understand your sentiment about the player.
But I will say this though, Sky, just to be fair, Sky, Brian, Jeff, I think back to 2 years ago, I was doing scouting on Deron Payne from Alabama, right? And if you remember Deron Payne, he did nothing all year. But then when he gets to the playoffs, he whoops everybody. And I remember walking around with my hands on my hips like, I don't want a dude that's only going to play 2 games. But then Deron Payne gets to the league. Somebody figured it out in Deron Payne, and now he plays that way. If that's what you're going to get from Barmore, then I'll be fine saying I'm wrong. I'm just saying he only showed up in the championship games, and you just got to take that on the chin with your report. Jeff?
No, that's right. And the thing with Payne is he's whipping Connor Williams' ass. That's the thing that bothers you most,
Have your opinion. Don't let it have you. Black Phillips, Voch Lombardi. Jeff, how you feel about Barmore?
I like Barmore, and I think the reason I like Barmore is because all of the things that have been said about him are true, and you just have to put it all in context. So what is Christian Barmore? He's a redshirt sophomore that didn't play much his first year, started coming along his second year, played more and more his third year, and then ends up with a ton of production with 8 sacks, plays his best as the season goes along against the best competition. And then you go to the traits. And again, that's why I'm starting to get a handle on how Voch scouts these guys, and everybody's a little bit different. Voch is floor guy. And floor guy is going to look at a 310-pound D tackle who doesn't start and be like, what the hell is this? Yeah. And with Barmore, because what you're doing is you're projecting the route he's on and that it's going to keep going. Yeah. Because the route that he's on is, wow, he's kind of a long-limbed guy that can rush the passer in multiple different ways. He is strong enough to play the run. He kind of sneaks through gaps sometimes too. So he's got a lot of good traits. And then against the best teams in the country, he kept getting better and better and making plays. So you're just projecting that to keep going. And then Marvin Wilson's hiccup of 2020, which I do agree on the reasons, torn meniscus, playing a 3-man line defensive end spot, that gives the opportunity for Barmore to be the first defensive tackle taken, is that you're just looking at his trajectory, and his is currently like this, whereas Wilson's went and then went and so people are going to hold it against him.
So I want to let you guys elaborate on this, because not everybody is familiar with draft lingo, and I saw a question pop up in here, and he said floor guy ? You guys want to let them know what you mean by floor guy, because we kind of throw around these draft lingos, right? And heck, I even learned some more from Broaddus. The high cut. I never heard that one before, so I'll be writing that down. So thank you. But floor guy, Voch, what does floor guy mean?
Floor guy is basically how good are you right now. So what you want ideally is you want a high floor with a high ceiling. You want a player to be good right now with the ability to be good later. So in my mind, a high floor guy would be
Surtain.
Like Patrick Surtain is the perfect floor guy. He's what he is right now. He may not get better, but he's what he is. J.C. Horn, if he stops grabbing people, could be way better than what he is right now. You see what I'm saying? And offensive lineman, right? Rashawn Slater has a high floor. I can whoop Chase Young right now. Sewell, I got to work on my hands, got to work on my feet. I got to bend my knees and get lower, stop leaning on people, all this stuff. But if I can work on these things, my ceiling you know, I can get so much better. So ceiling is I have room to get better. Floor is how good you are right now, basically.
Does that play a factor, Bryan, when you're not just scouting these guys, but when you're getting in that war room? Because you've been in there. You've been sitting next to Jerry, and you're saying, hey, Jerry, listen, this guy right now can come in and give you some good snaps, but this guy, give me about 2 years, and he'll be a Pro Bowler. Does that play a factor in that war room?
You know, it's funny, and I was in a war room for 13 years, and we never, ever talked about floor or ceiling. Never did. Last time I was in a draft room was 2005 with the Cowboys with Bill Parcells in that group. But we never – this floor and ceiling stuff has been really relatively new to the scouting world.
Okay.
Because this is something that we just talked about where we thought the player was and where he could be. But it was never mentioned as – a floor or a ceiling or anything like that.
But that's the same thing. It's just you're just using different words, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, we never. It's funny. It's funny how I hear the people talk about this all the time, and it's funny. I was talking with some of those guys I worked with back in the day, and I'm like, you guys understand this floor and ceiling bit? And they're like, no, not really. You know, the guy can either play or he can't play. That's kind of how we look at it. But that's. You know, we're looking for ways to talk about how to describe these players better. And I have no problem with the floor, the ceiling conversation. It's just confusing sometimes what people mean, how it means in different things. But, and like I said, 2005, my last time sitting in that room with Jerry Jones, we never had this discussion, only about where we thought the player was now and then where he could be, but with ever having not to use the words floor or ceiling.
I think what it does, it helps fans because we don't really get a chance to see everything.
Yeah, let me tell you where Jerry understands floor and ceiling, okay? Where Jerry understands is if you could tell him who this player reminds you of.
Jerry.
See, because Jerry's not a traditional general manager.
No.
Like a traditional general manager after a Sunday game, you know, you're on the road Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, meet the team on Saturday. You're out going to these schools. You're out evaluating teams. You're out evaluating players. You know, Jerry doesn't do that. So what you have to do is you have to paint a picture for him that this guy reminds me of. And then Jerry's like, oh, okay, yeah. And then he starts to see that. So that's the difference between a lot of these general managers. These guys go out and they see these players. Jerry doesn't see these players until they actually have their draft meetings. And then that's where they're, because it's all new to him. But if you tell him who this guy is, he has a better understanding of what that player could be.
So you better be careful who you compare a player to when Jerry's around. If you say the wrong name, he might take him.
Jim Garrett compared Drew Henson to Troy Aikman.
Oh.
And Jerry, I'll never forget the look Jerry gave him. Jerry had the glasses on the end of his nose, and he was looking over the top of his books like, what did you just say? Kind of a thing. And, but that's what Jim Garrett did. He tried to say that Drew Henson has the same type of abilities as Troy Aikman, and then Sean Payton basically went, bullshit. That's not true. Sean Payton said that. So, he goes, bullshit. That's not true.
On the flip side, I could be wrong, but I thought I heard these stories. Didn't Parcells kind of compare D. Ware to Lawrence? I don't know why.
No,
Lawrence Taylor?
Parcells, real quick.
Okay, yeah.
Parcells,
elaborate that.
He wanted Merriman. Parcells wanted Merriman.
Okay.
This is a story we tell all the time. Parcells wanted Merriman, and the scouts were in a fist fight with him and the night before the draft. We didn't know who we were going to take. We didn't know. And Rick Goslin of the Dallas Morning News, who does great draft work, he called me and read some stuff about Merriman, and he read stuff about Ware. I said, you got to get a hold of Jerry Jones. And he got a hold of Jerry. And the next morning, Bill and Jerry and Steven went into Larry Lacewell's office, and they came out and they're like, okay, let's go draft. And Bill's face was pissed. Like, Bill. And I looked at Lace and I go, and he goes, and he mouthed the words. He goes, we're taking Ware. And that was it. That was all. So Rick Goslin was the reason why the Dallas Cowboys drafted DeMarcus Ware. And to this day, Bill Parcells probably doesn't know that.
If you don't know that name, please go look up your history. He is very, very integral in Dallas Cowboys. Was it 70s, 80s, or 80s, 90s? I think it was 80s, 90s.
80s, 90s, yeah.
80s, 90s.
Well, and he's the best mock drafter of all time.
I saw
Rick
Bryan post that. That's
Rick
nutty.
used to hit almost 50% of first rounders, and nowadays whoever gets like 7 right is going to win that year. Well, and Rick was getting 15 guys right in the first round every year.
Nutty. Uh-oh. Got a frozen Bryan.
Oh, I love the way he's frozen.
Boy, that's a hell of
that is a great way to be frozen.
Frozen
Brian, if you can still hear us, try the link again.
We'll
we
do.
Giving Brian a headache, boy. Damn.
We can catch up on supers. I want to say thank you to.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna say thank you to Juan Castle, Felipe, and Alex. Who Alex's message just said, "Get new moderators. They're blocking people for no reason other than being an Eagles fan. They're mad at somebody."
I think it's Google.
My moderators don't block anybody for no reason. My moderators are gangsters. And you can feel free to go in the chat box right now and say what you said, and I can look at what you said and be like, okay, that's why.
Oh, no.
What the heck?
Are you kicking people out?
No, I'm not doing anything.
Oh, my God, I'm next. Oh, my God, Skywalker wants to do a one-man show.
Snake?
Sky's kicking people out.
Snake?
Out, man.
Voch is halfway back.
All right.
Voch is halfway back, but frozen.
I hear Bryan.
What the hell is happening?
This is what happens when you rely on the internet.
Voch and Bryan disappeared. Welcome back.
I have no idea.
Okay, Jeff,
happened.
I'm here.
Are we okay? Are we back?
I'm good.
You guys are all back to me. To me, I have everyone.
I got everybody.
But Bryan just froze again.
Okay, I'm good.
Bryan got the McDonald's Wi-Fi right now, though.
Man, Sky needs you to fix this, man. Come on, man.
Bryan, whoa. This ain't
Bryan,
Sky.
you got to get a Cat 5 cable. We got to be hardwired into our internet here. Hey, Juan said pool party at Jeff's if we draft Pitts and Bryan handles the crawfish. Sure. Would Cowboys really consider Waddle if he's there at 10? I hope so. If you get wiped out.
Get some of this crawfish. Go ahead.
We didn't even get a chance to do Bug Bryan. I need Bryan to come back in here. I want to get this Bug Bryan.
Oh, yeah. Your goal is just to make Bryan really mad. That's your goal, is to see if people can get Bryan to be mad?
Somebody said, Voch, Mickey Mouse is better than you. I don't even know what that means.
Who is Mickey Mouse? What is that? Bryan, you good?
Back?
Yes. I think we are straight, as they say. Let me see. Boom.
I think it's because I said the word Eagles.
That's probably why.
Usually, guys, we have a little running joke back on late night hype days. If we said the words Jerry Jones or Stephen Jones and we talk bad about him, all of a sudden the internet started acting up. Just all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. So, he was just talking about Jerry, so that could be one of those things.
Yep.
You got to reach. All right, before this thing happens again, I do want to get a hashtag Bug Bryan, which is just a question, right? The question I'm going to give to everybody, but we'll start it off with Bryan. And it could be old school questions. It could be about a guy now. Oh, right before that, though, somebody brought up Tonga. I'm sorry to kind of do this to y'all.
Oh, Christian Tonga?
BYU?
Kyrus Tonga. I love that guy.
Me too.
I love that guy. Yeah.
Yeah,
all of the kids, like all of the
islands.
Samoan, Polynesian, Tongan kids, all them those big dudes that can move around. It's plenty of them in the draft.
I'm really trying to keep my likeness for Tonga at a respectable level because I'm like, man, if he's there at 100 and something, what is the 4th round pick? I'm taking him, and they're like, no, he's a 5th to 6th round guy. I'm like, but I'm telling you, his ceiling, right? What do you think about him, Bryan?
I've read so many mock drafts where people were like putting him in the 6th, 7th round. I'm like, stop it, please. This guy. If you have a chance, watch BYU tape, and like he jumps off the page as a big one technique athlete, pass rusher. Someone's going to get him a heck of a football player with that guy. Seriously, I love the player. I really do.
We got 4, and then I'm speaking Cowboys for those out there because Voch has a ton of people who are not Cowboys fans. Speaking Cowboys, if we take care of business in round 1, 2, and the 1st round pick in the 3rd round. If we take a Tonga at 99, I will be a happy camper. A lot of people be mad because it's high, but for my 4th overall draft pick, we need that one tech, and I think he's going to be phenomenal.
I think so too. I really do. I'd love to see him on this team because again, the film was a lot of fun to watch with him. It really, really was.
All right. So and I'm not seeing any hashtag. Oh, here we go. Hashtag Bug Bryan, but no question. You just put hashtag. So what are y'all questions? We need to question with the hashtag, guys. You can't just put hashtag Bug Bryan.
Well, it's good being with you guys today. Thank you.
All
man.
right. Everybody have a great night. Go team.
That's how they do it.
That's how they do it. Double down on one tech. Danny Savage says, yeah. I mean, I don't think we have a ton of them. I do like Brent Urban in regards to Cowboys guys. But he's a 1 year guy. Here we go. King Marquis says, hashtag Bug Bryan. Can you replace Terrence Steele as the Cowboys' backup tackle? I mean, yeah.
Oh,
I don't think he's the backup tackle. Oh shit, Bryan.
No.
Oh,
Bug Bryan.
No, go ahead. Voch, you got it. Go ahead. That's good. Go ahead. You got it.
I think the only reason Terrence played was because it was like a terror threat level Orange DEFCON 5 situation. I think like we got guys now. So like there's your first two guys and then there's Nseki there now. Then he's probably gonna, with Brandon Knight or whatever. I don't think we ever get to a place to where we gotta deal with Terrence Steele for 17 games anymore.
They brought in the old guy for this, right, Bryan?
Yeah. Ty Nseki.
Yeah, Nseki.
Yeah, I you know what? I'd like to see if they turn around if somehow, some way. I know we all talk about defensive players at 10, but if they end up taking one of those tackles, if Slater makes it and they play him at guard, I would take Connor Williams and I'd make Connor Williams learn how to play tackle, guard, and center is what I would do. And I just think that, to me, they've got to kind of figure out some things. But yeah, they went and got a veteran guy that has had some good games, albeit when he played for the football team. With the stuff with the Bills, I don't think was some of his best work. He's an older guy. Let's see. They kind of try and put Band-Aids on amputations sometime over there. But if somehow, some way you end up with Slater and they plug him in at left guard, I would make Connor Williams my swing guy at all three spots if I could.
John Turner says, what about the safety from USC? I call him the fake Gucci belt version of the other USC guy. Yeah.
Jeff, you don't like him at all, do you? You were not a big fan.
And I think he actually tested well, which kind of surprised me. But Hufanga, I thought, like, he's a missile. He's fun in terms of hitting people. He hits really hard, but boy, he misses so much. I think he struggles in space.
Yeah, I think what you're going to see right there, someone's going to, if Bones Fossil late in the draft gets the opportunity to select somebody and he's still there that can play special teams, this is where Hufanga is going to be one of those guys. And Jeff's right. The missile, he'll miss, but I think somebody will take him and they'll let him be that guy. And maybe they'll incorporate him in some packages and stuff like that. I have him further down the list probably than most, but I know for one thing, talking to some guys at USC, he's an extremely tough kid, loves football, probably playing special teams.
You out on him too, Voch? And out as in,
yeah, he's a priority free agent kind of dude that I would get to come on my team and play kickoff. I'm not that high on him.
We got a donation. Bug Bryan, don't you feel the culture needs? Oh, this is from I'm not going to butcher your last name.
I think that's Shake and Bake.
Shake and Bake.
Listen to me.
My dumb ass was going to say Shimbaki.
Yeah, me. Yo, Voch, I was thinking the same thing.
Go ahead,
Shimbaki. R. Shimbake says, Bug Bryan, don't you feel the culture needs to change on defense? Guys are just happy to be Cowboys. I feel there's no fear. They're way too comfy. Culture change.
Yeah, I mean, the things I'm trying to learn about Dan Quinn, I think the number one thing will be accountability. Their pandemic plan for protecting the players last year was an A+. I've said this before in our radio show. It was an A+. Their teaching of the team was an F. And I think that won't happen with Dan Quinn. I think Dan Quinn will make these guys accountable. I think Joe Witt will make these guys accountable in the secondary. I think you'll see a different attitude about the defense overall. I think that they were embarrassed last year. Honestly, I really do. And so, we'll see if Dan can come in. Everything I've heard about him is an outstanding teacher. Hopefully he does a much better job of adding players to the roster when he gets the opportunity, unlike what our guy Rod Marinelli did. He had way too much influence and, they didn't fix the defense like they needed to.
I got a hashtag here. It says hashtag Big Bryan. I think he spelled it wrong, but hashtag Big Bryan. What do you think of Shakur Brown? I'll let all you guys get in on Shakur Brown. I think that's the cornerback out of Michigan State.
Yeah, Jeff, have you seen him at all?
I sure have, and I actually like him. I hadn't heard much about him before I watched him, but let me get to the notes. Let's see, Shakur Brown. Okay, yep, he has the thing that I like at corner. He plays pissed. Yeah. He wants to fight people. Dudes think they can, like there's a wide receiver that thought he could jog him off on a run play. And as he was jogging him off on the run play, Shakur Brown was like, I see what's happening here, but I'm going to go ahead and throw you onto your bench. Yep. So like, he's not a super twitchy dude, but he's fast. I think he's got good reactions. He stays in the hip pocket and stops with wide receivers really well. So Shakur Brown, to me, was he an opt-out or did I watch him in 2020? I don't remember, but I've got him as like a fourth round guy. I like him. I hadn't seen him on a lot of people's lists, but when I watched him, I liked him.
Where you got him at, Voch?
I'll take another crack because I'll take a crack at another. It's another Michigan kid, not a Michigan State kid. If you like a late round corner, look at this Ambry Thomas from Michigan. And he was a COVID opt-out guy, but here's a long, rangy guy on tape, super aggressive in the way he plays. And so, I mean, I'm kind of thinking, okay, if you could give me one of those day 3 type of a players, he might go day 2. But I think this is a guy that's got the type of skill. He's got the length. He's got the reach. I like how he gets it. He gets the share of his balls. I mean, you see guys try and run him off on routes. He'll knock that ball down. He's good at coming forward. He can make plays. I think the awareness, when you get to those late round with those cornerbacks and stuff, give me the guys that understand the situation and they play with the awareness, but they also play with the skill. Again, Ambry Thomas from Michigan, not Michigan State, would be a guy that I would take over that player.
Here's a cornerback question from Special K. Do you see any possibility of the Cowboys drafting Caleb Farley? Voch, I saw you had Caleb, I think it was 31?
Yeah.
31 on your big board. Is it a possibility you think they could come back up? Because Zaven Collins, Caleb Farley, those are some of the guys that we're hearing the rumors, right? You know, it's draft, that they could come back up in the first round. How you feel about Caleb Farley with the whole back situation?
I don't even want to say if the medicals check out, man, because if his back is that bad that he's falling in that way, then he may just be a dude that I just got to wipe my hands clean up. But if I'm not talking about injury though, I mean he's a cool player. He's just another player that's an athlete that I think has to work through his nuance and technical stuff, right? Because I'm floor guy, just like Jeff says. And you know what I will say about Farley though. For Farley to have no clue what he's doing technically, he can cover his ass off of somebody that's not that good technically. And just to kind of talk to the audience a little bit, if you watch the North Carolina game, right, it'll be a lot of times, or just whatever, just any game, Miami, it'll be a lot of times to where somebody's running past him, but he's running with him, but he never slows down to kind of look back and find out. He'll just end up running into people and he'll get flagged for it, right? So he just got to figure out what's going on around him. If he can figure that out, Farley be incredible. I'm just floor guy, but he does have enough floor to play for you today. You just gotta, take your lumps with him. But when you factor into the whole injury thing, what you want me to say, man? What you want me to say?
Yeah, I had him as a number 1 corner until I learned about the injury stuff. He was my number 1 guy. Horn was 2, Surtain was 3 in the first round is how I had him. I do know from talking to some teams, they say that the rehab for his back should be fine. Everybody's worried about his longevity. That's going to be the big problem. People will maybe you get somebody that drafts him that thinks, well, he could play 2 or 3 years. Now, I'll give you an example. Jeremiah Trotter was a guy I drafted in Philadelphia. The doctor told me he had a knee. He goes, I don't know if he could play 10 games or 10 years. He played like 13 years is what he did. So sometimes the doctors in Green Bay failed Larry Allen on a rotator cuff, on a shoulder thing, and so things like that happen. You got to be aware, but just talking to doctors and trainers around the league about the player, they think he can rehab the injury and be fine, but they are worried about the longevity of how he can play going forward.
How you feel, Jeff?
I think that's one of those things where it's not going to come down to people like us who watch the players. It's going to come down to hey guys, you're at a certain pick and Caleb Farley's on the board, and you just look at the doc and you're like, eh? And even hearing all the positive things about how it's supposed to be, he's going to be fine, he's going to recover great. my thing with backs is backs don't generally get better. I'm terrified of backs. So if you've had to do something twice without even playing football in between to relieve pain in your back, I'm terrified. Yeah. And I'll still take the risk. You just got to know the risk. I'll still take the risk at 44. But in the first round, I'm not doing it.
There was a thing last year after we hired McCarthy where it was like, hey, everything's on pause because I still have PTSJG. Meaning, Jason Garrett was here for a while, so I kind of got to, there's ways that he did things that had me nervous. Well, I feel that way about injury guys in Dallas. I am so out on a back guy, on a Jalen Smith knee type of guy because I have PTS draft injury guy in Dallas. Jalen Smith, Bruce Carter, Sean Lee. I just get real nervous, and he is talented. Caleb Farley, I'm with you, Brian. He was one of my top 2-3 corners before I heard about this, and I'm like, whoa, back? See ya. I'm good. And we talked about it before, Jeff. I'm out. I just don't want to deal with it because of that. If I wasn't a Cowboy fan, maybe I'd feel differently. But as a Cowboy fan, I've been here. I've done that. I'm good. I'd give me who you guys like, Eric Stokes or, I don't know, Tyson Campbell. One of these guys in the second, third round that you guys like. Give me that. He's healthy. He can get out there and play right now, and let's work. What's up, Voch?
Question for everybody. How far does he have to fall before you take him?
Yeah, that is
44.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about it is because I could say Jerry Jones will ask that question of Jim Maurer, the trainer. Yeah, he did it one time when there was a guy, Sean Rogers, the University of Texas, had a tackle that had a bad toe that the Lions took in the second round. And Jerry kept going, Jim, tell me why I can't draft this guy. Tell me again why I can't draft this guy. And so I have a feeling that Jerry will probably be asking a lot of questions about this particular player. But we need to see, like I say, if Horn, Surtain, those guys on the board, this could be totally a moot point.
All right, man, that's it for #Bug Bryan. We got to get Bryan out. We done bugged him for the last hour and a half, man. So I appreciate you coming through, Bryan. You guys want to, get your – I call it the signing off. You want to sign off for B?
I want to say, no. Hey, thank you guys for coming on. I know really you guys do a lot. I know I work with Jeff every day, so I know the kind of work he puts in, but I really enjoyed hanging out with you guys. Maybe we could do it again some other time. I'm serious about that. Sometimes you say it and you're like, I hope they never call me again. This group though, I'd love to work with you guys. Anytime you want to do this again, I really did enjoy everything.
Oh, thanks, B, man. I appreciate you having you on. And this is Voch and Jeff's show, so I know they absolutely loved it, man.
I don't have a show. I just happen to be streaming with people at certain times. I don't know what you're talking about a show.
I got a show that you can find on Voch Lombardi on YouTube, VOCHLOMBARDI, and find me talking shit to casual people on Twitter, Voch Lombardi at the same name. Go ahead.
So we all out?
I'm good with that. Yeah, after I say thank you to Daniel for the super chat, who said rank these tight ends outside of Pitts. Don't pick one. Brevin Jordan's okay for me. It sucks.
Oh, no, man. There's some good tight ends, Jeff. Don't discourage people.
I've only seen 3 of them so far, and one was good. Well, one's amazing, one's okay, and one I was bored. So I'll have to watch more.
Penn State guy. Penn State guy's a pretty good one, too.
He's not good. We'll fight later. He's awful.
Take care, boys.
Happy drafting. See you, Bryan.
Take it easy,
boys.
See you guys.
Everybody subscribe to my YouTube page or I'll punch you in the face.
Violence.
Yeah,
listen on the radio.
We're still live.
Stuff like that.
We off? Or we?
No, we're still live. I know
we're live.
I know Bryan had to get a hard, peace out of here, but I wanted you guys to kind of, give you, your soft ending. I don't know how you guys do it on the ScoutKast.
Oh, I don't have a soft ending. I just tell people to make sure that you're cool to everybody because you have no idea what people are going through, and then I tell people that I love them.
That's your soft ending, though, Jeff. You just said, "Come on, son." That's your.
Oh, is that that's my soft ending?
Yeah.
I don't have one, but that is it. That's my soft ending. I love you guys.
Then I tell people, hold it down for the Doski Woski and the Peasky Weesky.
That's what it is.
Right brick on my brick.
Write it.
I want me some glory hole.